When Durham County Council first brought Category D in, we asked them what all these different categories meant, which was A, B, C, D, you see. And the explanation we got was, oh, it's just a means of identifying the different areas. And that was what we got. But in the following 6 years, things changed completely. It went from a normal area to people finding it impossible to sell their homes.
Yeah.
The planners labelled all the 121 villages Category D. The villagers have adopted it as a battle cry, and the uproar has been heard as far away as Westminster.
Well, first of all, I don't think that any law in this country should give anyone powers to tell us where we're to live. And the Town and Country Planning Act has given powers to the Durham County Council, which have condemned houses which are perfectly fit to live in.
Our area hasn't been fully recorded by a long, long way, you know. This is a history, a factual history of the criminal decline of this area.
Category D was a government policy that was implemented in the 1950s, in particular within County Durham. Areas and villages were classified A, B, C, and D, where D were those from which a considerable loss of population would be expected, and no further investment of capital would be given or invested. According to an article printed in the 1960s, there are 3 stages of Category D villages. First, that building is restricted. Second, that it is denied. And third, that the bulldozers move in. For many years, Eldon Lane's Workmen's Club provided the only cinema for residents in the area, but falling attendance made the officials take the decision to transform the cinema into a first-class dancing and concert hall.
We had some beautiful nights. Beautiful. It's the old-time dance with modern sequence. It was established at the Institute at Eldon. That's where it originated in 1952. Right. It was transferred over here. I'm not sure, but I joined in 1970. I didn't go to the dances till my father died, and I went with my mother. I went on the committee about a year after I'd joined, and I helped to keep it going. And then I took over as treasurer, and I was a member there till it closed in 2012. Once a year we invited different dance clubs. They came at, like round about Christmas. We had quite a good dance for quite a long time. It's got the finest floor in the northeast of England. It's a sprung elm floor. Still, as far as I know, it's still the same floor. We had quite a lot going then, and it gradually dwindled down. And the dance did split up, and some of it went to children, and we kept going. It wasn't that we had people from Eldon Lane. They came from all over. We had floor leaders from Billingham Way, Stockton, Darlington. They used to come. I think one lived near Newcastle. but very few from around here. The cinema, it had 1, 2, 3, 4 changes of pictures. Monday and Tuesday was one, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday and Friday, and then another one on a Sunday. I can remember that. And they used to have wooden forms right up where the stage is. We used to sit there when we were kids. It was threepence. I've seen 35 buses lined up out here. Started at the top here, lined up right round, 35. The League Club show, that was a grand affair. The first prize would be a bedroom suite. Oh yes, it was posh. Members die off and, you know. Then there wasn't the work for people. I didn't go into the club till I was turned 18. No, we weren't allowed in. I mean, you come with me. Stand there. It was the men's club. Sign in, don't move. Sit there. My dad was very strict in that respect. We used to go down on a New Year's Eve. That was the best night. It used to be queues right round here. It used to be great at the club once over. We used to sit out the front on a night.
Money was later invested into Eldon Brickworks, a new plant in the area with the promise of bringing fresh life into a doomed pit village. Despite this, in 1963, a Durham-based company was given permission to extract shale from Auckland Park. This was despite Eldon Brickworks being just down the road. With the implementation of Category D in 1954, coupled with the loss of jobs caused by the closing of the mining industries, people began to move out of the area. Despite numerous articles describing the need to keep people in the northeast, that keeping jobs was essential, and that even a survey was held to understand why the population was moving out of the area, development continued to be denied. Even plans to build bungalows for the elderly on the former site of Campbell Terrace, known as Paddy's Row, were rejected. The area came under further impacts of isolation, with a lack of street lighting and policemen. Where everything was maintained before, now the area was restricted. Eldon Lane and Close House were subjected to a dim-out, while Auckland Park and Dene Valley were in complete blackout. The doctor's surgery closed in Coronation due to a crisis that hit the National Health Service, where there were too few doctors and too many patients. After the surgery transferred to Bishop Auckland, an appointment system was put in place which proved problematic. Eldon encountered persistent raids at the local youth club after the loss of local residential policemen.
They pulled 100 houses down in that little area, which it was another 100 houses. We lost 360 odd houses altogether. Well, you take that many houses out of any area, and it devastates it completely. So the shops were closing down, and the whole area closed down eventually. I don't think there's any other area being treated as badly as what this area has.
Paddy's Row was built in 1841 to house the Irish navvies building the Sheldon Tunnel. Their demolition in 1956 was the rare exception of the worst being dealt with first.
The roads unmade, the empty houses decaying and dangerous, the appeals for redevelopment unheard or ignored. Often the conditions in which the villagers live are anything but reasonable and civilised.
My grandmother lived in Paddy's Row, up there. I can remember they moved out of Paddy's Row into Millbank Terrace. Millbank's still there, but they lived on the other side, what was very poor with the houses. I've seen a lot of changes around here. Well, I was born in Wesley Street, 2 Wesley Street, and we were only there a few weeks. I was about 6 weeks old, and they got a little cottage over Brickyard. They were in 11 Cumberland Street, and we were there till I was nearly 4. Then we moved into Elliot Terrace, which it was pulled down.
Elderly people were forced to move out of their homes through demolition and were unable to find accommodation in the area. When demolition struck their homes, homeowners were being rehoused on new purpose-built estates such as Woodhouse Close. People also moved away through fear of their house being demolished and struggling in a dying village. Families who invested savings into their own homes often received compensation which amounted to only 1/5 of the value of the property due to legislation. The council merely applied the standards in the Housing Act. It was emphasised that when demolition was achieved, the land would be left derelict as there would be no future redevelopment.
They pulled the hollow down, so it meant I lost a lot of my school friends. They moved out the area. The place has changed a lot because a lot of the people have moved out, a lot of the shops have closed. It absolutely breaks my heart.
Those houses were good brick-built houses. They were full of excuses, was the council. Anything they could find an excuse to pull a house down, they would do.
Has the plan been carried out in the most humane way possible? 121 Durham villages have been actively discouraged from surviving. And yet the planners, you see, would say it is for their own good that we want to move them into the large new housing estates.
Yes, well, I would say to the planners, are they planning what people want or what they think is good for us? And I say this, and the Minister said quite clearly when he spoke to me at Spennymoor, there is no reason at all why the Planning Committee should not meet Crovac or Eldra or anyone else concerned with planning. This is what planning is about. We're planning for people, and people should be consulted. I believe that no village or no house could get into this state unless it was by starvation or strangulation, by a plan or a policy. Indeed, the people have got to be rehoused, but the land is good housing land.
We were a local association that was formed to fight authority. I won't even say the days and months I've spent, it's the years that I've spent. Right from 1961, when we realised what Category D meant, they made me secretary, and of course I ended up doing most of the work. I won't say I did all the work, not by any means, and Charlie Hopper did help quite a bit, but he was the treasurer. We, as a community, called a meeting, and we formed Eldra to fight it.
Eldra campaigned against Category D using a variety of methods. They held meetings within the community, they organised petitions, they sent letters to Members of Parliament, to the Ministry of Housing and to the Bishop Auckland Urban District Council. Eldra came up with suggestions of how to bring industry and jobs back into the area, despite the Category D policy, and they invited officials such as MPs and Lord Helsham to support these efforts. It was also Eldra who raised the alarm when the isolation of the area caused dangerous conditions. Even a mystery artist appeared to support their work. What made you decide to keep it secret?
Well, you see, if I put my name to everything, they'd have just said, oh, it's just him again.
Did other people know that you were Elf?
No. Some in the association might have known, but they never said anything. The trouble was, I was involved in that much correspondence and one thing and another. If I put my name to that placard up there, you see, for instance, they'd have just said, oh, it's just him. In fact, the councillors did. They didn't actually comment on that, but when they read it, they just sort of said, oh, it's one of them troublemakers. So they classed Eldra as trouble.
In 1965, a public inquiry was held in order to assess the necessity of Category D in Eldon Lane and Dene Valley. In the first review, no alteration of the policy was recommended.
Bishop Auckland UDC did put a case forward in the end, but we were fighting. The times I went down to the officers at Bishop to get information and persuade them to support the removal of Category D, it's uncountable the times. I mean, when I should have been working in the shop, I was down there, It was just ridiculous the way things went. They refused to come to our meetings. They formed their own association or group, and they had it in the little church behind William Street to start with. And they were holding their own meetings, supposedly fighting Category D, but they weren't really, because they didn't dare go against the party, you see. It fizzled out in the end because we had the support of the people.
The injustice of Category D is described in some Eldra meeting notes. We have churches, chapels, schools, youth organisations, a dance hall stated to be the best in the north, a great bus service, shopping, swimming baths, and industry. We are not just a village, we are a town in miniature.
People have had to, they've been persecuted, for want of a better word, and the whole area has. The attitude of even local councillors towards the area, they treat you as though we rubbish.
In 1962, Councillor Tom Cunningham was quoted describing Eldon as a mass of slag heaps. It was greeted by uproar within the community.
To understand how abusive this one councillor was against the area, and he was part of Eldon area, but he was abusing people for buying their own homes. There's no need for it. There was quite an uproar about that. We put a case forward and we had a solicitor to present the case.
And that was funded through Eldra?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was there as representative of Eldra, We were awaiting the outcome of the inquiry right up till 1971. They promised us we were going to be a normal area, redeveloped and new development and be treated as a normal area. And then the council changed hands and they went and cancelled everything.
In the notes of an Eldra meeting, it is written, "We of these communities of Dene Valley are witness to and victims of authorities' deliberate and willful destruction, devaluation and demolition of self-contained communities, which were all deliberately blighted and stigmatized by total restriction and deprivation, except for minimal basic services."
Is there an alternative, do you think, to the de-village policy? I mean, can't these people be allowed to remain in their village?
Well, one isn't sure that people do want to live here. Some of the present people, some of the present generation, understandably say that they do. What we're here discussing is the long-term strategy for the development of the county, the longer-term future, how to get things right, modernized for the 20th century.
You must fight to stop Auckland Park being taken out of Dene Valley, because it would reduce the size of Dene Valley, and then they'd say, oh, well, it's just a small area, it's not worth bothering with again.